Welcome to this explainer. All right, picture this scenario for a second. It's Friday evening. After several exhausting, high-stress days of trying to recover from a major incident, the IT team finally gets to take a breath. They lean back in their chairs, genuinely believing they've successfully navigated the storm. And honestly, who could blame them? The servers are humming again, applications are responding, databases are fully accessible, and the backups, well, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. For everyone in that room, the crisis is officially over. It's a moment of immense relief. But as we're about to explore, the true priorities of an organization only really reveal themselves during a crisis. And sometimes, a massive technical success absolutely does not equal an operational success. So, let's dive into our first section, the false recovery, or when dashboards look reassuring. On that Friday evening, all the technical indicators were creeping back to normal. If you were just looking at the IT monitoring screens, everything painted this beautiful picture of success. But there is a stark, almost frightening contrast when we look beyond those dashboards. Saturday morning rolls around, the business teams log on, and they discover a completely different reality. On the IT side, users could log in, applications were up, data was present. Total green lights. But the business reality? Completely different story. Customer orders were just stuck. They couldn't be processed. Crucial information was mysteriously missing. Important validations had just vanished into thin air. The teams on the ground literally no longer knew which orders could be shipped, which ones could be invoiced, or what commercial commitments the company could actually honor. Think about that. The systems were back, completely green across the board, but the actual operations were entirely paralyzed. Now, faced with this kind of sudden paralysis, a really disturbing question naturally arises. For several frantic hours, teams searched desperately for a technical fix. They were asking, okay, was it a backup issue? Did something fail mid-restoration? Is it a synchronization problem between databases? Or, worse, a silent data corruption event? Everyone, understandably, was looking at the infrastructure for answers. Yet, the deeper they dug, the more undeniable one fact became. The problem wasn't purely technical. It was something much deeper. The core issue actually centered around what the organization was trying to protect in the very first place. Which brings us to the next section, the hidden business priority, and the fundamental question, what are we actually protecting? As the investigation finally shifted away from servers and code, it focused right on the operational reality of the business. During a crisis, we instinctively default to protecting IT assets, but we so often lose sight of the commercial and operational assets that those IT systems exist to support. Let's break this down, because understanding this is absolutely crucial for grasping operational value. The teams realized that a customer order is way more than just a line item in a database. Look at what an order actually represents. It is a customer's intention to buy. It's a binding commercial commitment. It triggers a whole logistics process. It is the literal source of future revenue. And ultimately, it represents a human-customer relationship. All of these elements carry immense operational weight. If an order can't move forward, all of those interconnected realities just grind to a halt. So the pivotal concept here is what we call a business object. We really need to formally define this. A business object is an operational entity, like an order, a signed contract, or an invoice. It's an entity that carries tangible value, commercial commitments, and logistics processes. In the crisis we're looking at, these specific business objects had lost their operational integrity. Sure, the data was still there, the systems were running flawlessly, but the actual value carried by those orders had become a complete mystery. They were frozen, stuck in this weird operational limbo. And that leads to a brilliant realization. During the post-incident review, there was this one sentence that kept coming up among the executives. Someone said, "We thought we were restoring systems. We discovered that we needed to restore business objects." Wow. I mean, that is a profound shift in thinking, isn't it? It completely transformed the organization's understanding of resilience. Up until that exact moment, the priority was obvious: restore the applications at all costs. But suddenly, the real priority emerged: ensure that business objects can actually continue progressing through their life cycle. Let's move on to what the crisis revealed, the visibility problem. The defining characteristic of this entire crisis was that it acted as a revealer. It didn't expose a technical flaw in a firewall or a broken backup tape. No, it revealed a massive organizational lack of visibility. The company simply could not see how its value is created and sustained under constraint. This breakdown perfectly captures the knowledge gap that plagues so many enterprises today. On one side, look at what the teams deeply understood: their infrastructure, applications, and backups. They had metrics and diagrams for days. But on the other side, they really struggled to explain which business objects truly carried value. They couldn't map out the transformations that actually created that value, and they were totally blind to the invisible operational dependencies making those transformations possible. It's a classic case of deep technical knowledge paired with a huge operational blind spot.
That leads perfectly into our next focus: value-creating transformations and moving beyond infrastructure.
Here is a hard truth that organizations just have to accept. You do not create value with servers. You don't create it with applications, and you certainly don't create it with backups. Now, don't get me wrong, those things are absolutely essential. You literally can't run a modern business without them. But they aren't the objective. Value only appears through action. Take a look at this progression. Value is created when a business object successfully moves through specific transformations. Step 1, an order is approved. Step 2, a contract is signed. Step 3, payment is received. Step 4, shipment is delivered. It's this flow, this continuous, unbroken progression from one state to the next that actually generates revenue. If the business object stops moving, the value creation stops entirely. It's really that simple. I really want to emphasize this next point because if you take away one thing from this explainer, make it this. Organizations do not simply protect systems. They protect their ability to transform business objects. Operational resilience is 100% about maintaining the flow of business and value creation, regardless of whatever technical chaos is happening in the background. That's the exact lesson those executives learned the hard way, and it's a mindset shift every crisis manager needs to adopt. To structure this new way of thinking, let's look at the Ransom-Kick resilience model, a new perspective on criticality. When we discuss criticality in corporate governance, we almost always default to IT applications. We tier them, map them, protect them. But as we've just seen, that's barely half the picture. The Ransom-Kick model addresses this operational reality head-on. It shifts the focus away from perceived technical priorities and zeroes in on the real priorities that sustain the business. So I want to leave you with a provocative thought, something to really challenge your current approach to operational continuity. Ask yourself, which business objects truly carry the value of your organization? And what would happen if they suddenly, inexplicably, just stopped progressing? If your servers are green, but those objects can't move, do you have a plan? Answering that question is the very foundation of true organizational anti-fragility.
If you want to dive deeper into this and really understand what enables an organization to keep creating value under severe constraint, I highly recommend checking out these resources. You can explore the foundational concepts over at ransomkick.com. And for those of you looking to actually map and structure this coherence within your own organization, take a look at Archeonis DAB. It's a fantastic methodology and visualization environment designed for exactly this. You can also find a lot more in-depth insights on the Archeon Group YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your focus on what truly drives your operations, and I'll catch you next time.